This is Jake Funk, Super Bowl champion running back for your LA Rams, and you're listening to the Bestball Fantasy Football Podcast.
And welcome into episode 39 of the Bestball Fantasy Football Podcast. I'm Bradley Stalder, and tonight I'll be doing a live Drafters Million NFL Best Ball Championship, and that's going to be starting here in just a couple minutes. I've been doing a lot of the minis, and I've been posting a few of those on the draft boards on my Twitter, so you can follow me at FFStalder and see some of those. But first, let's get into the draft room and take a look. I have the 11th pick, and I usually don't get the 11th. In these mini drafts, I've been getting a lot of the 8 spot, and I kind of hate it because I've been looking at the 8 spot, and usually there's not a lot of value that comes at that spot. So I'm oftentimes drafting between Derrick Henry, Dalvin Cook, Travis Kelce, Stephon Diggs, Davante Adams. So I've been cycling through those players, but yeah, it's not been a lot of fun because I haven't had as much access as I'd like to the Taylors, McCaffrey, Kupp, Jeffersons, Ecklers of the world. Even Jamar Chase, I haven't gotten that much of. So, yeah, for those unfamiliar with Drafters Best Ball Fantasy, hop on. Use the promo code BESTBELL, and that will give you a free $20 ticket to this Drafters Million Best Ball Championship draft. $20 added to your account with at least $20 deposited. Double your money. Love it. And for those unfamiliar with the settings, it's a $20 buy-in, $250,000 to first place, $100,000 to second place, and then 9,175th through the top 3,000th. Get your $40. So $20 in, you make $20 off of it. So if you're at least in the top 16%, you're going to be in good shape. Okay, so let's go back to the draft. Oh, let's make sure we're in. Log in. There we go. And we are up. Ooh, they just added this feature. New feature. Hats off to you, drafters. Appreciate you doing this. It is night mode, and I really like it. Okay, so Jonathan Taylor goes off the board first. Unsurprising at this spot. Let me see if I can do some adjustment here. Okay. Cool beans. So it goes Taylor, Jefferson, McCaffrey at 3, Kupp at 4. And it's a 30-second clock, 30-second timer. And I wonder if the yellow background will look better. Okay. I mean, good enough. We'll try out a few of these overlays, see what works best. But at this 11 spot, this is a start 3 wide receiver, so it's tempting to go Davante Adams and CeeDee Lamb, or Stephon Diggs, Mike Evans at that spot. This is full PPR as well, so we need to be considering that as a possible upside play. However, I did projections for the Detroit Lions, and I can't help but think how badly DeAndre Swift is going to smash this year. I only projected him for about 45% of the carries, and DeAndre Swift could be the running back 3. That's where I have him about right now. I haven't finished projections, but running back 3, if he had the points he had last year in just half point PPR. And DeAndre Swift, I have projected at a 17% target share. So that's really significant. And I kind of don't want to miss out on DeAndre Swift. And here we go. So draft DeAndre Swift in full PPR. Absolutely. Then I'm going to force Flea to take some wide receivers or take Joe Mixon. But Stephon Diggs was the smash at the 112. I'd hoped he'd come back to me, but he did not. And it looks like I'm going to go with... I found that I want to make sure I get one of these wide receivers. I've tested and messed around with it, and I really don't like my builds if I don't start with at least one wide receiver in the first 2 rounds. If I start running back, I don't like a lot of the wide receivers that come back around in the 34th, 35th, 36th pick. It just seems like that value gets sucked dry pretty quickly and is really top heavy in this draft. So yeah, I really like drafters. That's a new addition to the desktop, is dark mode. We've seen 8 of the last 12 picks, 9 of the last 13 picks go off a running back. Javonte Williams, surprisingly, at 18. He's been going more at 23, 24, 25 at the back end of the second round instead of the middle, early second round. Javonte Williams could very well smash, though. I drafted him in the Scott Fish Bowl as my running back 1. My running back 2 was Travis Etienne, so if that tells you anything. I am a big fan of Travis Etienne. He's one of my most rostered players, most drafted this offseason, because I believe that you're getting a discount at Travis Etienne full PPR. He's going to be the outlet for Trevor Lawrence. We saw the tight ends get a lot of passing. We saw James Robinson be very fantasy useful last season, despite the ineptitude of the Jacksonville Jaguars offense. A couple surprises, though, so far. Travis Kelce at the 106. And I know that Omar Gutierrez has done 118 other drafts, but that's still surprising that Travis Kelce goes at the 1-6. Mark Andrews goes where he's expected. Mike Williams at the start of the 3rd round, pick 26. That feels a little early, but that's where he's going nowadays. In full PPR, though, I'm thinking Keenan Allen should be going over Mike Williams, especially in redraft. Now, this is a best ball tournament. Got to be considering Keenan Allen in full PPR. Okay, there we go. Just doing some adjustments here. There we go. Let me see if I can get rid of that. Okay. I'm up here in a few picks, and a couple of the wide receivers I've been taking at this spot at pick 35 or so. DJ Moore, I'm more comfortable taking. I projected him to be in that wide receiver 8 to 12 range this year with the addition of Baker Mayfield. He was more wide receiver 13 to 15 with Sam Darnold. But I mean, he's going to get hyper targeted in an offense that, I mean, Matt Rule is playing for his job. So he's probably going to just tell Baker, like, get the ball to DJ Moore and Christian McCaffrey. So those are going to be 2 of the players that you'll see jump up in my projections and rankings. Christian McCaffrey, who is also jumping up. He's now being solidly considered as the 2nd pick. Okay, so I like DJ Moore at this spot. Draft DJ Moore. Love his target share. He's one who can explode. 28, 29% target share. And getting CeeDee Lamb and DJ Moore, that feels really good right there. Flea gets the stack of Josh Allen and Stephon Diggs, so that's pretty nice for him. But I'm contemplating a Marquise Brown at this spot. I had a lot of late Jalen or early Jalen Waddle, so I'm probably not going to draft a lot of Jalen Waddle at this turn. But Jalen Waddle goes off the board anyways, and I'm going to target some Marquise Brown at the spot. I've been getting a lot of Cortland Sutton around here, but Marquise Brown, 26% target share each of the last couple of years, and in full PPR, getting those high target shares is what's going to access a lot of fantasy goodness. So imagine Marquise Brown, but on a higher volume offense. That's what Arizona is going to be, especially for those first 6 games that DeAndre Hopkins is going to miss. We've seen a run of 6 straight wide receivers. Yeah, sometimes, well, what I've noticed too is that Kamara and Elliott tend to fall, and then DJ Moore, Waddle, Marquise Brown, Sutton tend to get picked off at about the end of the third round. So to see them fall is interesting. Usually you don't get that lucky. Gabriel Davis appropriately goes off at the 44th pick overall. I've seen Gabriel Davis go off at pick 35, 36, 37 in these drafts. Look, if you want Gabriel Davis, you're going to have to pay up this year. I understand the arguments in favor of Gabriel Davis, but there's also there's such a wide range of outcomes is how I view Gabriel Davis. He could smash, he could not smash. The red carpet is rolled out for Gabriel Davis. He's bulked up. We've seen some spike weeks from him. He actually had a higher spike week rate than Stephon Diggs last year, a higher wide receiver 1 set of weeks than Stephon Diggs. But we also saw that he has a 50% or so catch rate, which is problematic for a player who you'd hope would take a step forward. So we see Breece Hall, David Montgomery, J.K. Dobbins go off, Brandon Cooks, DK Metcalf. And at picks 59-60 or so, we're looking at like Darnell Mooney, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Elijah Mitchell, Amari Cooper, Elijah Moore. I love getting Elijah Moore. I haven't done projections for the Jets yet, but I'm looking at Elijah Moore being one of those players that I can't get enough of. He's got speed, he's got upside, he's got the shiftiness, and we expect a second-year leap from Zach Wilson, even if you're not sure he's that good. It can't get much worse than it was for Zach Wilson last year. All right. We have seen some value drop. Lamar Jackson goes off. I like Amon-Ra St. Brown at this spot. I've been drafting a lot of Amon-Ra St. Brown. I expect that he smashes during the first half of the season with no Jameson Williams. DJ Chark's going to command a 15 to 17% target share. But Amon-Ra St. Brown I have him projected at about a 21% target share on average for the season. So that could look like a 25% share at the beginning of the 2022 season with Jameson Williams missing for the recovery from ACL. This is the perfect spot to get my stack. Kyler Murray stacks with Marquise Brown. I get that Arizona stack going. And looking at the rest of my team, I could look at like a Dak Prescott later. But Jared Goff, with having the two Detroit Lions on the squad, Amon-Ra St. Brown, DeAndre Swift, I think a late round Jared Goff may prove more valuable to me. All right. And if you're just tuning in, jump into Drafters Fantasy and use the promo code BESTBELL, and that'll give you a free $20 deposit. That's not your normal promo code. There are a lot of other sites out there with your regular old $10 promo codes. No, this is a $20 bonus deposit, first-time deposit promo code. Use BESTBELL for $20 extra when you deposit for the first time. Elijah Moore goes off there. I wish he would come back. One of the biggest risers, and I have a Fantasy Pros article coming out very soon. Russell Gage goes off in the 6th round, and I think Russell Gage, he may outscore Gabriel Davis this year. I think that he has a 22% target share last season on a bad Atlanta team. Now he moves to Tampa Bay, high volume. If he gets the 22%, at least for the majority of the year, we're looking good. There's not going to be Rob Gronkowski. Antonio Brown is not there. Chris Godwin is recovering from the ACL. And Godwin just goes off. Yeah, he's one of my fades for sure. If you read my Fantasy Pros article recently, I wrote up how Chris Godwin is one of the biggest fades for me in this type of format where you're taking an automatic 0 in round 7 for probably the first 6 weeks of the season. And I know that there's been some chatter of, oh, Chris Godwin's going to be back. Godwin's going to be back. No, he's probably not. And whoever's saying that is too optimistic and doesn't really understand timelines of injuries. So no, I think that there's a real problem with um, projecting Chris Godwin to make it back for week 1. It would really risk him for re-injury. All right, there's no real value left on the board. I got a couple seconds left. Ayuk, Hawkinson. You know what? Let's just go with the Detroit. Might as well get some Detroit love here. Amon-Ra St. Brown, TJ Hawkinson, DeAndre Swift. I have Hawkinson projected in half PPR to be around the tight end 4, 5. Depending upon, where all of my other projections land. I would not be surprised if Hawkinson gets a 19-20% target share on a better offense. He gets some touchdowns, and he can coexist with Chark and Amon-Ra St. Brown and DeAndre Swift. I think that that's within the range of outcomes for sure. And one of the players that I am pessimistic on is Alan Lazard. I'm not a fan of Lazard. Do I take CD Lamb here? Maybe I take or Dak Prescott. Yeah, let's take Dak. I'm gonna go with a 3 quarterback build this draft, unless I get sniped on Goff. Let me actually add Goff here. Okay. Nope. I added him to my queue. And one of the things on drafters, you can add players just based on their team. So I can just go to Detroit and add DJ Chark. And I've already added Goff. I'm not going to add Jamal Williams. But I think a really late contrary pick is Quintez Cephas if I need some wide receivers. All right. So let's go to all. And now I can just let some value come to me, especially from the running back position. I have DeAndre Swift as my anchor, and then I can go however I'd like the rest of the way. I currently, through 8 rounds, have a 2-1-4-1 build with 3 Detroit Lions, 2 Arizona Cardinals, 2 Dallas Cowboys, and 1 DJ Moore from Carolina. So things are the correlations are working out pretty well. I do have some bye weeks, week 13 for Arizona and Carolina. Dallas has week 9 and week 6 for Detroit. Those are going to be things that I keep in mind as I'm drafting, but I'm not going to prevent. I want to make sure my bases are covered. I don't want to take a 0 one of the weeks, but the bye weeks aren't something that, I need to make sure that if I'm weak at one spot, as long as I have one position covering the buys, I'm okay. I'm not panicking about it. I won't try to go out of my way to pick someone based on their bye week, especially if I'm stacking and I have players on the same team. And this is a full season tournament. This is not we get to week 15 and then we got to look for a shootout or playoff schedule. Nope. This is a full season. So I want to take advantage of a lot of variance that may occur throughout the season. And one of my favorite later picks is he's coming up here, Kareem Hunt. I'm hoping Hunt does not go off, but he probably will. Ramondre Stevenson instead. I like Ramondre Stevenson. He's one of the players that I have in my FFWC video showdown draft as my running back 2 after I took Breece Hall as my running back 1 in that draft. I had the 112 and I took Kelsey at the 112, coming back around and got CD Lamb as well. All right, we are up, and maybe I get Kareem Hunt. Nope, I get sniped there. But looking at the rest of the values, I like getting values at these spots. And Rashad Penny, there was just word out today or yesterday that Rashad Penny was going to get 20 carries a game. And it's clearly going to be Penny. Now, I don't like him in full PPR, but later on, if he's going to be getting 20 carries, that's 20 carries in round 9. Okay. and that's by week 11. Not that it really matters to me, but just for the viewers at home, it's not going to interrupt or disrupt my DeAndre Swift. I'm not sure what to think about Robert Woods because I haven't done the projections for Robert Woods, and he may be back for week 1. Of all the ACL tears, it may be Robert Woods who's best coming back from those. But one of the players that I've been just smashing all the time at this spot is Sky Moore of Kansas City. There's no way that Sky Moore is the 110th best player going off the board. 110th best player wins all said and done at the end of the day. At the end of the season, Sky Moore will be outperforming his ADP, I think, pretty significantly. He's an early declare small school wide receiver who was drafted in the second round by the Chiefs. And we've seen, Tyreek Hill develop well with Patrick Mahomes. We've seen other wide receivers who are really talented develop, but not Mecole Hardman, because frankly, Mecole Hardman's not that good. But there we go. Okay, so I've got a 2-2-5-1 build through 10 rounds. So far, there hasn't been a lot of value left on the board. In a lot of the drafters' mini drafts, I'm able to pick off some great values, 12 spots, 10 spots, 15 spots. I've even got 2 rounds of value on some players, even in the middle rounds. 2 rounds of value in the last 3 rounds doesn't really matter because people are just picking who they want. And that's the type of attitude you want to have in these type of live drafts. So, yeah, you don't want to be stuck to ADP in rounds 18, 19, and 20. Just get the players that you want or that you think you've identified that have upside. Okay. Just to review my team so far through the 10 rounds, I took Kyler Murray, Dak Prescott at my quarterback position, DeAndre Swift, Rashad Penny, CeeDee Lamb, DJ Moore, Marquise Brown, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Sky Moore, TJ Hawkinson. So Hawkinson is my other tight end. And Arizona, the other tight ends, let's look through the remaining Arizona players. Darrell Williams is there. He's been one of the biggest risers in ADP over the last 2 months. AJ Green is there. Eno Benjamin, I wrote up in my most recent Fantasy Pros article, as a player that you want to be rotating through in your last rounds of these types of full PPR drafts. Eno Benjamin might be the handcuff you want in Arizona. We'll see. And then looking at Dallas, a few other players. I'm avoiding Michael Gallup pretty much at all costs in the full season tournaments like drafters. In Underdog, which is not available in Michigan, I haven't had much of the opportunity to draft Michael Gallup. I've been pessimistic about him just with the ACL tear, but Jalen Tolbert has been one of the biggest risers as well over the last month and a half. So let's look at all the teams and look at the value here. We're getting up to pick 131. So I could get some Gallup if I wanted to. Ronald Jones. Michael Carter's been one of the biggest fallers as of late. Darrell Henderson. Irv Smith has been one of the biggest risers. I don't see anyone obvious here. Pick 131. So I'm going to firm it up with Ronald Jones. Get another running back in there. Ronald Jones might carve out a pretty significant role, and we saw Jerick McKinnon have a great PPR role. He averaged 16 fantasy points per game over his final 4 games with the Chiefs, and that's including the playoffs. Playoffs? All right. I'm not going to be doing much reaching here. Only a couple spots, and that's for Irv Smith. And I think Irv Smith is one of the biggest values in these drafts. He is rising a lot, but I want to be in on Irv Smith. I drafted in my Scott Fishbowl team, and Irv Smith over his last 9 games for the Minnesota Vikings in 2020, 5 of those were top 12 weeks, including a top 3 finish and the number 1 overall tight end weekly finish, week 15 in 2020 against the New Orleans Saints. So Irv Smith has that upside, and if no other tight ends sign with the Vikings this offseason, Irv Smith has a path. The red carpet is rolled out for Smith to be a back-end tight end 1 with high-end tight end 1 upside. Because we've seen the spike weeks, and if he gets some touchdowns in an ascending Vikings offense, that could prove very valuable for your drafts. Round 12, Irv Smith. Also working with TJ Hawkinson? Yes, please. Now, as we come back around, I'm kind of disappointed that DJ Chark, I probably won't get much Chark, although I have seen DJ Chark fall significantly in some drafts. So we'll see if he ends up finding his way to me. If not, I mean, that'll be okay. But Chark, I have projected for about 15-16% target share, a mid to back end, actually an early wide receiver 4 is where I have him at. So, yeah, I don't know if he probably won't make it back about 12 more picks, but maybe Jameson Williams will. Corey Davis is someone that I'm interested in. Probably when it gets to me, Jalen Tolbert would be a target at this spot to get a wide receiver to stack with Dak Prescott and get me some Dallas Cowboys. Through 12 rounds, I have a 2-3-5-2 build. My quarterbacks, Kyler Murray, Dak Prescott, Swift, Penny, Jones, CeeDee Lamb, DJ Moore, Marquise Brown, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Sky Moore, and my tight ends, TJ Hawkinson and Irv Smith Jr. Wow. Tolbert goes off at 148. That's a bit early for Tolbert, but he is one of the highest rising wide receivers. I am 5 picks away. And I'll probably need some wide receiver help as we go. Corey Davis is a player that I like at these spots. KJ Osborne could be interesting here. Oh, well, Jameson Williams and KJ Osborne go off. Such is it. No stacking there for the body spill for in his 45th draft. Zach Wilson goes off. We'll see. Maybe Kenny Gainwell. I did not expect Gainwell to make it to me. Maybe he will, and he does not, in fact, make it back to me. It is going to be a Corey Davis pick, and that's fine at wide receiver. I need some wide receiver assistance anyways. I like Corey Davis there at the end of the 13th round. And there is a running back that I want to take in full PPR. It makes sense to take this particular running back. And if I can get him at this spot, I know it'll be a couple places above ADP, but if he's available, I don't want to take it away. Flea 90 might be watching this draft. So who knows? Getting down to it, last 5 seconds. And it is going to be J.D. McKissick, one of only 5 players over the last 5 running backs over the last 2 seasons to have 10% target share each of the last 2 years. So J.D. McKissick fills in my running back 4 role. I have Swift and McKissick. Swift is one of the other 4 to have back-to-back 10% target share seasons, 10% or higher receiving seasons. So I like him at that spot. And then, yeah, maybe I'll get Jared Goff to come back around to me. Who knows? If not, I've got Prescott and I've got Murray. I've got the stacks there. Darrell Williams is there. Njoku, I love getting Njoku. I probably won't get him in this draft, but David Njoku is one of those players that at the tight end position where you want a late round upside pick, David Njoku has been a very valuable play You want the upside. He had one game last year with over 100 receiving yards, big bodied tight end. And even though we may see a suspension for Deshaun Watson, David Njoku is still going to eat. We saw Jack Doyle really eat when Jacoby Brissett was quarterbacking back in 2019 and 2017. He had plenty of tight end 1 weeks, and we expect David Njoku is a better player than Jack Doyle, right? Better receiver, at least. Baby hands, Jack Doyle. Love Jack Doyle. If you see this podcast in Doyle, I appreciate you. You won me a fantasy championship a couple years ago. Nevertheless, David Njoku does go off. So does Darrell Williams. Evan Ingram hasn't been much of a mover in fantasy. Dan Arnold, though, his tight end counterpart, was one of the biggest fallers among all of tight ends over the last 2 months. And if you're just joining me, make sure you're using the promo code BESTBELL on Drafters Fantasy, and that'll match $20 for a first-time deposit. So use the promo code BESTBELL, and that will be an extra nice addition to your best ball drafting repertoire. Okay, getting it in there, extra drafts, gives you an extra one here. All right, so my build so far is a 2-4-6-2 build. I've been focused primarily on Arizona, Dallas, Detroit. I've gotten some Seattle and Carolina sprinkled in, and some Minnesota as well. But one of the players that I want to take a shot on, and this is in doing the research for Pittsburgh wide receivers, George Pickens has been one of the biggest fallers as of late, but it's because a report was put out that Pickens won't get regular snaps until 2023. I think that's far-fetched. I don't believe that. Because looking over the last 4 years, Juju Smith-Schuster, 2017, his rookie year, 58 receptions, 79 targets, 917 receiving yards, 7 touchdowns. You're like, okay, but that was Juju Smith-Schuster with Antonio Brown. 2019, Deontay Johnson, 59 receptions, 92 targets, 680 receiving yards, 5 touchdowns. 2020, Chase Claypool, 62 receptions, 109 targets, 873 receiving yards, 9 touchdowns. The MO of the Steelers coaching staff with rookie wide receivers, especially second-round pedigree wide receivers, they're going to get on the field. They're going to play. I don't want to hear about, oh, yeah, I don't know if George Pickens. No, George Pickens is the Georgia Bulldog. Okay? He's going to bulldog people. He's going to play tough. He's going to play the way the Steelers want him to. And in the 15th round, end of the 15th round, yeah, give me George Pickens. Okay? Now we're getting into the last 4 rounds or so. I took Kendrick Bourne. Bourne had some upside weeks last season. And if we're believing in Mac Jones taking a step forward as an efficient passer, then you should be believing in Kendrick Bourne. He's probably going to be the second or third receiving option, but playing out of the slot, Jacoby Myers will play out wide. Same with Devontae Parker. So for an accuracy expert, a skilled, accurate passer like Mac Jones, Kendrick Bourne is going to be there. And he's used. He has a knack for the end zone. He's used in the red zone. He's the type of player that the Patriots trust, and they paid a lot of money for. I mean, the Patriots paid a lot of money for a lot of players last season. They paid money for Jonnu Smith. They paid money for Nelson Aguilar, paid money to Kendrick Bourne. But it was Bourne who was probably the best investment. Hunter Henry played well, but Kendrick Bourne was the surprise, I think, of all of the free agents. Right now, I've got a 2-4-8-2 build. And yeah, I wasn't able to get Jared Goff. He came off the board before I could get him. So I took Pickens instead. I might go with a third quarterback. Well, let's just see who's still available. Maybe not though. Mariota, Trubisky, Pickett, probably Mariota. Although that's early for Mariota. Looking at the rest of the builds, Jerick McKinnon might be a very interesting pick. As I mentioned, McKinnon, I've got two Kansas City backs now in Ronald Jones and Jerick McKinnon. McKinnon averaged, as I said early in the podcast, 16.4 fantasy points per game over his final 4 games with the Kansas City Chiefs last year. And we saw Jerick McKinnon average 16 fantasy points per game over a 6-game stretch with San Francisco in 2020. So there's back end wide receiver, running back one upside in PPR for Jerick McKinnon. Question is, can he last? And all you need is a couple games out of him in full PPR. And maybe I go Mariota here just to firm up my quarterback room by weeks 13, 9, and 14. I think it's going to be Mariota all year. I don't think Desmond Ridder sees much of the field at all. Just that's my intuition. I think Ridder will push Mariota, but Mariota's the veteran. He's probably not going to make too many mistakes, and we'll probably look for Kyle Pitts and Drake London. So we'll see an ascension of those players, but I don't think Desmond Ridder is going to beat out Mariota. I would be surprised if that's the case. I would be less surprised if Kenny Pickett beats out Mitchell Trubisky, just based on pedigree, based on the skill sets that they bring. Desmond Ridder is pretty much a younger version of Marcus Mariota. He's got mobility, he's got accuracy, maybe not the arm strength that you want, but round 18 Mariota. I hope he doesn't make my team, or make my best ball starting lineup. But here we are, just in case. I'll probably look to get one more tight end. So let's look at the available tight ends remaining. Uzama and Conklin. If I'm picking between the two right now, I'm leaning Conklin. And Conklin's been one of the higher ascending ADP tight ends lately. Same with Cade Otton. Cade Otton's risen a little bit with the retirement of Rob Gronkowski. But there aren't any other starting tight ends that are really interesting. Dana Arnold's been a big faller. Bellinger, maybe, but I don't have any Giants on here. So I'd probably look to get some Conklin at this spot if he's available. Shenault goes off. I like him late. Donovan Peoples-Jones in round 18. I love to see it. That's a player that I love drafting late wide receivers with. Let's see who else is in my queue too. Quintez Cephas and Eno Benjamin. Yeah, there we go. So I'll probably pick one of those guys when I come back around. So I'm going to take Tyler Conklin. And then based on the wide receivers, let me just look at the roster, check, make sure everything is A-okay for my wide receiver core. Not really missing too many on the bye weeks. I feel like I'm going to be okay from the running back position. Yeah, why don't we go with some Eno Benjamin? I like the Eno Benjamin pick if I can get him late here, because that would give me a 3-6-8-3 build. Although Quintez Cephas, thinking about the wide receivers and how important they are, Quintez Cephas was actually pretty useful before he had his collarbone injury. So I think going with a 9th wide receiver instead of a 6th running back is probably more optimal at this point. My quarterbacks: Kyler Murray, Dak Prescott, Marcus Mariota, DeAndre Swift, Rashad Penny, Ronald Jones, J.D. McKissick, Jerick McKinnon at running back. CeeDee Lamb, DJ Moore, Marquise Brown, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Sky Moore, Corey Davis, George Pickens, Kendrick Bourne, Quintez Cephas at wide receiver, and Hawkinson, Irv Smith, Tyler Conklin. Not many reaches, not a lot of value either on this draft. Maybe the draft rooms have gotten a little tighter. I've seen a lot more variation in the drafters minis. And this draft went pretty quickly, to be completely honest. It seemed like, this is 40 minutes. Usually these drafts take almost an hour. So nevertheless, this is a lot of fun. So if you liked what you saw, if you wanted to draft some best ball teams yourself, use the promo code BESTBELL, and that'll give you an extra $20 when you deposit $20 on Drafters Fantasy. And you can do one of these drafts, or you can do one of the $2.22 Best Ball minis, where I think it's 10 grand for the let's find out. Yeah, it's a if you go to drafters.com, it's a $2.22, 50 grand total prizes. And yes, 10 grand to first place, 5 grand to second place, 2,500 to third place. And this is just a $2.22 entry. So if you're not big in on, you don't have a high bankroll, or you just want to put a couple dollars in and try it out, this $2.22, there you go. You get some access, get some action, draft, have a lot of fun, and it's less expensive. And you get you get $4 back if you're in the top 16% of winners. So there you go. Awesome. Well, thanks so much for joining, everybody. Appreciate you jumping in. If you liked what you saw, make sure you subscribe on the YouTube channel, click the red button. And then also I'll be posting the audio on Best Bell YouTube, or the Best Bell podcast, so you can check that out as well. You can listen to some of my case studies. I'll be having some guests on next week, pending the birth of my 4th child. So yeah, you can definitely check that out. Love interacting, doing these drafts live. I'll be doing one next week, hopefully with Matt from Draft Sharks, and then I'll also have a few other guests on next week. Hopefully, Andrew Erickson of Fancy Pros and Anthony Servino of the FF Face Off. So till next time, good luck in the best ball streets.